Morning, everyone. I hope everyone can see me all right and hear me all right. Look for someone whose video I can see, and if you can, Richard Reeve, can you give me a thumbs up? Looks like we're ready to go. Lovely to see you. Brilliant. I think a few more people are joining. So I'll just give it a moment. I can see the numbers ticking up, but absolutely wonderful to have so many people here. Let me just sort this out. Perfect. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Hamish Shephard. I'm the founder and CEO of Bridebook, and really excited to have so many people with us today to talk through two things, really. One, we've done a very detailed wedding report that I hope you've all seen. It's 82 pages long, broken into a huge number of sections, covering all different dimensions of the industry and from venues and suppliers. And what I want to do is take a moment, obviously this sort of crucial moment after a terrible year, but the light is starting to come through the clouds now, and everyone getting really ready for what's about to come. And we're seeing very exciting stuff in the data, very exciting stuff we see on Bridebook, and want to share from those insights the sort of key checklist and roadmap of what I'd really recommend people to be looking at. And we're going to cover it in a lot of detail. Most of the people on this call are pro members of Bridebook, which is, we have Venue Pro and Supplier Pro, so we'll be focusing on some of those pieces, and also be quite venue specific, as we can't cover every supplier category, but the whole goal is to take these learnings beyond Bridebook onto your own website, onto all your marketing, how you approach lots of stuff. And I hope it's as applicable to as many areas as possible. The way it's structured is we're going to have some data, and then from that I'll be giving you key actions to take away, or from recommendations based on that data, and some obvious ways you can action that very quickly. And then from that, at the end, we actually have a checklist of things I'd highly recommend you do over the coming weeks as we see everything turning a corner and kicking off. We've got a lot to cover. There were also 300 submitted questions for this session, so I've broken down the key ones and made sure we cover them in the content. But there should be a little bit of time at the end. I'll cover the key ones, but there'll always be time, if we need to do another session like this, I'm always very happy to do that. And the Bridebook team are always around to answer any of these questions, and very well experienced and very fortunate to have an amazing team. So to kick off, let me just make sure I'm on it. As I mentioned, I think most of you know me, but just a little bit of my background. I'm Hamish, CEO and founder of Bridebook. I'm also a venue owner myself. This is Head's a House. That's a venue my brothers and I launched 13 years ago. We're now a very popular venue. In a normal year, we'd be a successful venue. But just to give you how far we've come, for our first weddings 13 years ago, my brothers and I, we used to charge people their meter readings for hosting a wedding, and we had no furniture and no curtains in the house, and it was sort of like getting married in the house in The Shining. Luckily, we've come a long way now, and managed to sort of save the house and restore it, and I definitely share the passion of running a venue, and taken all those learnings to launch Bridebook. And Bridebook, we wanted to be an incredibly collaborative platform. We want to, our mission is to plan the best weddings and to help the best wedding businesses. And we really enjoy and fortunate to work with so many of you on this call, and enormously appreciate it, and have a real duty. I want to work very closely with everyone, getting out of the darkness we've been in. And I'll talk about it a lot now, but the optimism ahead. And just a tiny bit about my background. Before that, I also co-founded HelloFresh, which is a recipe kit company. And I also write the wedding column for the Evening Standard, and co-founded the ABWB, which I'm fortunate lots of you are members of. So that's some of my experience. And just so you know, everyone on this call will know the Bridebook business side of the platform, but on the couple side, which will give you some idea of what goes on Bridebook, we're an app where couples can plan their whole wedding on our app. And we're fortunate, and I'll show a couple of stats in a sec. We're a very popular app. They give us a huge amount of information. They manage their guests. We currently have 8 million guests on the app. We break down their budget. We can tell them how they should be spending their budget. They work through their checklist. We remind them every Saturday of where they are in their progress. We have a shortlist so they can compare all their suppliers and compare their costs and really lead them through the whole journey. And that gives us a huge amount of information, which one allows us to do reports like this, but also allows us to break down that information and use that information to get people matched with the right suppliers. And that's the goal of our business, and that's what we enjoy being successful at. Our product, we've been very lucky, has been very popular, and couples love it. We've been app of the day on the App Store on Valentine's Day. We were Apple's favorite app of 2019, and we're top of most things in the App Store for weddings. We're top of everything, really. So we've been really fortunate. We've also launched the app globally. We now have weddings in 165 countries. We have 11,000 weddings going on in the Philippines on Bridebook, and sort of amazing things like that. But our core focus, our home market, is the UK. That's where everything started, and that's where we're lucky to be most advanced in the product and have a huge amount of traction. Quite sort of astoundingly, we now have just over actually 70% of UK couples now download and use Bridebook to help plan their wedding. And from all of that and that fortunate position, we're able to get a lot of data and want to share that with you. And our whole goal is to work collaboratively with businesses and make them as successful as we possibly can, and look forward to doing that. So enough about that. Looking forward to where we are now. The key 3 trends I'm going to talk through from the data, and I hope lots of people have had the chance to look through our full report. It was linked in the invite, as I said, and we can always send you the full copy. From all our data, what we see is there's a big boom coming. We should all be very excited for that. We're the luckiest industry in the world, that even though we've had the worst year in the world, we're the only industry in the world where the majority of our business is postponed, not cancelled. So we have this backlog of business. Theatres, restaurants, everyone have empty calendars now. We've all been able to roll on that business, and we've got this big backlog of demand. For the last year, no one's been able to really plan a wedding and have a wedding. There's also been a year of people getting engaged who are chomping at the bit to get married, and we're going to talk through that. Then talking through from our data, definitely, we focus, we're an app. We focus on that millennial couple. Our couples are obsessed with Instagram and Pinterest and Deliveroo and Uber, and that's where their world lives, and that's what we're being focused on as a business. That's where we see the direction of travel, and that's where we see a load of insights we'll share shortly on that online world of the online world, which has only been accelerated through COVID, and showing some key highlights on that. And then talking through, as I'm talking there, very much on the sort of millennial couple and what trends we're seeing through those. So I'll jump into it. First up, we obviously have Boris's latest announcements on the roadmap. We could do, and I know lots of people have been involved in lots of our calls on these. But what we see, really, everyone will know these dates well. 29th of March, up to 6 people can be getting married. From April the 12th, 15, from the 17th of May, 30, and from the 21st of June, we all hope it is unlimited numbers or no restrictions on numbers. There's been an announcement or an insight today that from the 12th of April to the 17th of May, the 15-person limit might only be allowed in venues that are already open for business, which possibly doesn't include wedding venues. It'd be allowing weddings to take place at open venues like zoos, but not at wedding venues, which is another, complete blow. But, I'm part of the task force and involved in lots of these things. The task force is making sure there's clarity on that as soon as possible. It's just another hit that we're all used to, frustrating, used to getting hit. But if we part that for the moment, looking forward, what we see in the data now is couples have been waiting for this moment and waiting for that confidence. We see of all couples who haven't booked a venue yet, 70.58% are waiting to do in-person viewings before they book, okay, which is very logical. People want to see a venue in person. And there's an enormous amount of people waiting to do that. And we've seen that on the app. We've seen a mountain of people racing back when the roadmap was announced and saying, right, my summer wedding can happen, or weddings are back on. They're not, even my 2010-22 wedding, right, I can start planning on this. And there's a lot of sort of herd mentality in the wedding industry. Everyone who's getting married is generally a similar demographic and age. And once one person's booking their venue and sending around on WhatsApp, guys, save the date, we've reserved ours, it gets that momentum moving. And we see that coming extremely soon. And that's where talking through this, even if weddings can't take place at a full size until June, or really heavily into July and August, all that planning, all that backlog business is going to be racing through before then. Whilst you have your venue and your business available, it's grabbing that business and getting back after such a bleak year last year, not only having a successful year this year, but catching up on that business. And we've seen the roadmap has given people a ton of hope. There's a lot of business coming, and now it's making sure you're in pole position as a business to capture this opportunity. And that's what hopefully this session can help as much as possible on. So talking through some of the key stats from the report, sorry about that, the majority of couples, as we know, have postponed. And what we've seen, the journey of this is most people who've been postponing, who'd be getting married in 2020, had got engaged, would have got engaged in Christmas 2018. That's the normal wave. The majority of engagements take place each year at that Christmas period. And they've been waiting since 2018 when they got engaged. They hoped to get married summer 2020. It's now rolled on to summer 21, and people are also moving on to 22. So this is where engagement length has almost doubled. And this creates a dynamic where we see in the data where you have this large wave of postponements who've pushed into 2021. And then all those couples who've been getting engaged in the meantime, sort of during the last year of COVID, have been forced, one by postponements, but also due to wanting to ensure COVID is no longer an issue, have extended their engagements to be moving into 2022. So when we look at couples getting engaged now, 61% are looking to get married in 2022 and beyond who haven't got a venue yet. The other 39% are looking to get married in 2021. And these are these two cohorts that you want to be looking at as a business that we'll talk about. You have that audience who are happy to wait and willing to wait, and that's actually extended their engagement. And there's also this cohort which wants to get married now. They've been waiting since 2018. Still, the majority of people get married before they start a family, and they want to follow that progress. And on that journey, you can see someone on the screen, but on that journey, they want to move quickly, and they're happy to compromise, whether that's moving to midweek, whether that's having a smaller number of people, whether it's taking the scenario that some older members of the family might not join the wedding. And there's two cohorts you want to think about where you might want, if you're filling your calendar for 2021, there's that cohort you want to race after now. And also there's this big wave coming through who are going to want to be grabbing as many 2022 dates as possible. And this obviously applies first to venues, but then all those people then come down the funnel onto the rest of their suppliers, making sure you're positioned in the best place possible for that. And this is where, when we talk about people compromising, this is where couples are, this is the chart to show you the percentage of weddings that are happening on Saturdays. So you can see it was 57, it's already gone down to 49. This trend is moving into the midweek, and I'm going to talk through a few tactics to help you doing that. Now, obviously, this year and then the next 2 years are going to be bumpy years of weddings. talk through some stats. Over 1 million people. There are going to be over 500,000 weddings, 2 people in most weddings. So there's going to be 1 million people are getting married in the next 18 months. This is, you know, going to be the busiest year of weddings, the busiest 18 months of weddings in history. It's a moment to capture that. Obviously, unfortunately, we don't have additional Saturdays to cater for this stuff. The majority of couples want to get married on a Saturday, and that's where moving people into the midweek allows you to increase your capacity, catch up on the, you know, the damage of last year, and, you know, make a sort of a bumper harvest to get you back on the road to success, and want to talk through some of those. So the three actions, so yellow slides, just so you all know, are action slides. So 3 slides to look at here. One is optimizing your pricing. So I'd highly recommend, if you haven't watched my last masterclass on pricing, which was a long session, looking at pricing for your midweek and your low season, especially if you're a venue, and also for suppliers, you might want to consider this depending on what category you're in and how your cost base and cost structure works. But if you're a venue, I'd highly recommend having a dynamic pricing structure. And we've helped something like 400 venues in the last 3 or 4 months. The team, well done to the Bridebook team, building these structures out for venues. And it allows you to move couples just from headser. If you're getting married on midweek in winter to weekend in summer, the difference is it's 70% cheaper to get married on midweek in winter. And that allows us to move dates, allows your sales team to have confidence talking about pricing. Don't get married, you know, we're quite busy on our Saturdays. If you move to a Friday, you'll save 25%. If you move to a Thursday, you'll save another 20%. Suddenly you're able to really confidently talk about why Thursday is great, because price is the leading dynamic. Most couples, if there's availability, will want a Saturday, need very good reason to compromise for a midweek, and that's where pricing really allows it. The other one is to make sure, if you haven't done it yet, on Bridebook, set up your couple targeting. So there's an absolutely unique feature to Bridebook where you can choose, we want to be getting in front of couples who are looking to get married on a Friday in autumn next year and have this budget. And on the app, we have, you know, in 2019, we planned 170,000 weddings. At the moment, we have 253,000 forward planned UK weddings on Bridebook. This is how you can target to get in front of the right couples. This is where you want to look at your calendar, spot gaps, right? Our Thursdays in early spring next year, our midweek even. That's where we can then recommend you. You're telling our algorithms when a couple, we know everything about our couples when they onboard, so we know what they're looking for. We can get you in front of the right couples, and that brings much higher quality, much higher conversion, and that's, you know, obviously extremely valuable and brings in business. That's what we want to be doing. And then the third piece, which would be on Bridebook, but also, you know, on your own site, and really looking at special offers. So looking at targeted offers, and I've gone and looked through, you know, I won't say who this is, but a venue, people promoting deals for 2020, make sure you're up to date. Even that doesn't give a great impression if you're talking about, you know, if you haven't updated, make sure everything's fresh. Can you look at something that's designed for smaller numbers? Not everything necessarily has to be a cash discount. Often, if you're saying, we'll give you your champagne toast on the house if you move to this date or something like that. Actually, rather than a cash discount, it feels much more generous, and actually, you're likely be much. You know, the gross margin, actually the cost of the business of giving someone champagne or giving them an extra extension or giving them the bridal suite at no cost is much cheaper on the bottom line for your business than giving a £500 discount, or, you know, if we're looking through here, 35% off. Actually, could you do something or create an amazing package or sort of upsell for that? So I highly recommend it. This is where they are on, just so everyone always knows where you can find them on Bridebook. And that will also be on your own website and anywhere else you're marketing. If we look at, this is just a quick slide to give people confidence. Obviously, the average spend of a wedding in 2020 went down. That's aligned with the average guest count going down, because obviously the only weddings that took place were smaller weddings last year. So there shouldn't be a concern in the market that the average spend is dropping, even though it's sort of recessionary pressures in the world at the moment. We're not seeing that. And if anything, what we're seeing is budgets going to be going up. The majority of people in the UK in this strange scenario, due to government support, have been able to save. What people want to spend money on is experiences, on on celebrations, and there's nothing bigger than a wedding. And already we can see that in the data on Bridebook, where we see couples not only looking at having larger guest numbers and larger spend, but also caring about the details. There's one of the questions saying, it's, as we say, we're going into the roaring 20s. Do people want to be doing, do we want people be scrimping or celebrating, where we're going to be in the most sort of celebratory environment ever? The emergence, the post-COVID celebrations, the biggest ones are going to be weddings, and there's a real direction of travel for that. So that should bring a lot of optimism. There's a sort of very important slide for everyone, so sort of lean in. This is when we ask couples, and this is focused on venues, but again, this resonates for all suppliers. So, and in the full report, this is breaking down across all suppliers. So, we're focused on venues just at this time, but do look through it, and this resonates for everyone. So there are 3 key points for what matters to couples that we see. Okay, especially when they're choosing a venue, but this will be across the board for choosing suppliers. So the 3 key points are price and meets their budget, which we've covered a little already, and I'll talk more about that. The next one is beautiful grounds and photography. And obviously a wedding is an extremely aesthetic, aspirational moment, the most aspirational moment of your life. The photos are going to be the most viewed photos of your life forever. That will sit on your mantelpiece, and it should be in this modern world, there'll be the most liked photos you ever post on Instagram, and that's how a lot of the millennial couples will be thinking. So photography is wildly important and really accelerate talking about that. And then the last one, which mustn't be forgotten, is helpful and friendly staff. So lots of venues, and when I talk to lots and lots of venues, can think of their venue as just their product, but actually the team is one of the most crucial things they're looking at. This is where you want to be conveying trust. They want to be working with someone. If their engagement, they're getting married in 2023, they're going to have a 2-year relationship with their venue and with their suppliers. Having that relationship and that connection with staff is so important. And even after a year where we've all been battered and everyone being tired, that's where pepping up your team, pepping up yourself, thinking how you can go on that extra mile that I'll talk about in a moment, is an enormous differentiator, and to really have it front of mind. I think I've covered that. I've got actions for each of these. So publishing your pricing, lots of people still are of the, some people still have the view of keeping your pricing away, because then you can talk to them and actually see if they fit pricing. All our data would point to the opposite of that. If you think of a millennial couple, we are all used to seeing price very transparently everywhere. If you went on Deliveroo and there were no prices on a restaurant, you'd think something's shady probably, or you think something strange, and they'd put it on the very bottom of your list to do it. If you went on Skyscanner or Booking.com and there were no prices for one of the choices, it's just completely unusual now. And actually showing your prices brings a lot of confidence and transparency, and also allows your team to feel very confident that you're not going into some negotiation every time. And the couples also feel very nervous about negotiating. A real preference of millennial couples, they don't like talking on the phone, they much prefer messaging, they much prefer text-based conversations. Is going in saying you're going to have to negotiate on price and things like that feels something most people are very nervous about. It's like going and buying a car. People feel sort of nervous if they're expected to go and negotiate, and that's where actually having transparency of your pricing brings like huge confidence and allows couples to feel in control. And this was all heavily covered in the last pricing masterclass. But on Bridebook, we give you the ability to really give a lot of transparency on your pricing and what's included. This allows couples to do a ton of research before they're contacting you, which gives you much higher quality of inquiry. It saves you time, saves the couple's time, and just makes the whole conversation, the whole flow a lot easier. Places out there that will purposely not show your pricing to try and boost the number of inquiries they send you and things like that. They're just very unqualified inquiries, and that's something we'd steer against. Would strongly sort of push against as Bridebook, but also on your own business. I'd highly recommend showing your pricing, and it can be behind an email wall if you want. Download our pricing, and they have to put in their email address first so you can follow up, which is a nice bit of data. But showing that pricing and having it very clearly displayed just brings a lot of confidence and allows your team then to also, or to talk couples through the logic. This is what a Saturday costs, this is what a Thursday costs, and this is what a Wednesday and winter costs, and allows you to move couples and then not feel, well, am I getting ripped off? That's actually one of the worst traits the wedding industry has. And we hear it from couples all day long. They feel like they might be overcharged. If I say the word wedding, they're going to double their prices. We've all heard this stuff. Showing your prices transparently just removes that enormously. So highly recommend it. Hopefully that's clear. So we had pricing, then we had photos. So photos are so important. We all live, we all have lovely iPhones and Android phones now that have incredible cameras. We're all, every couple who's on Bridebook is also on Instagram and is used to seeing beautiful photography, or also on Pinterest. We're in that world. Every photo you look on, again, all the other platforms, it's Deliveroo or Airbnb, it's all about beautiful photography, and especially in a mobile world. I'm going to talk about that. It's phone based. You will not get much traffic, or the majority of couples are on their phones and not sitting looking at desktop full-size photos, which obviously make photos look nice. Do think mobile about all their photos. The one I'd really the comparison I'd think about, and might use this sort of analogy, is think of Tinder. The majority of couples who are getting married today now met online, which is just a sign of how digital the world's becoming. And that whole journey, how they then met their partner, started with flicking through a couple of photos and some detail about them. And then they decide, shall I get into conversation with them? And we'll talk about the funnel. That's how they ended up marrying the person they want to spend the rest of their life with. And your venue, we'd say, or your business, second most important decision after choosing who they're going to spend the rest of their life with, where they're going to celebrate that decision at, and who they're going to celebrate it with the suppliers. Photos is your billboard, is your shop window, everything starting online, and those first photos are incredibly important. Okay, so after this, go in looking at your photos on Bridebook, on your own website, on anywhere else you're marketing, and making sure you have great photos. If you're ever unsure what is a good photo, the easiest way to test is to post photos on Instagram and see which one gets the most likes. Okay, really simple. You do it now. We say, I think these 4 are our best. Which one should be our cover photo? Just post them a few days apart, see which one does best. A lot of venues we can see, and some suppliers will focus, in my view, focus on too narrow a photo, where you want it to be aspirational. If your food's incredible, you might want to take a photo really zoomed in of an incredible dish. But if that's your profile photo, that is not the photo someone's aspiring to have on their mantelpiece. Okay, and you've got to take that step back, sit in the couple shoes, and here's Heads' cover photo. We've tested which one does best. We say, I want to be standing on that lawn on my wedding day, having a photo of all my friends partying there. I want my friends to drive up to this place and say, wow, I want the weather to be that good, and even having a few clouds makes the photo look even better. Like that complete aspiration, rather than us taking a photo of our incredible, canapes, because that's not what someone's getting excited by, even though it might be something you're very proud of. You're going to show that to them and sell that then later. That first step, get them excited. It's your Tinder profile. One of those 3 photos that are going to get someone to start messaging you and engaging with you. So here we go, and choosing that order on your carousel. You can see on Bridebook, the first thing they do is they've got 3 photos they can flick through on your tile. Make sure those are the best, and they shouldn't be identical. The next photo shouldn't be the same view of the house. Try and think, what are the most valuable aspects that a couple would be like, I want that photo. I want my flowers to be that amazing. I want whoever took that photo, I want them as my photographer. I want my friends dancing that hard in front of that band. I want to be in the middle of that dance floor. That's what you're selling to them as quickly as possible. So we'll talk about how competitive it is in the online world. And then the third piece, where we said pricing, photos, and staff, and relationship. This is where focus on that relationship. And staff sounds like such a negative, like wrong word, and I've written here, they're not staff, they're hosts, they're part of your wedding. Be in that world, go above and beyond. We've learned from Hedsa these surprise and delight touches, where you say, how can we be very different or show we really care? So when you book Hedsa, we have our own honey. We actually send a couple of pot of honey with a teaspoon engraved with their initials and their wedding date. And that just, the word of mouth we get from that, the amazing relationship we've started there, just shows we really care. When I've spoken to venues in the last week who are sending couples Easter eggs. I thought it was a brilliant idea. And even if these are postponements where you've had very tricky relationships that we've all had, is there some little touch you can do, to keep them excited? We've got someone to come and draw the house and send that out as a nice Christmas card over Christmas, just keeping that relationship and showing what can you do to new couples when they visit the house, when they're able to visit, or when you're doing a Zoom. How can you make this experience as personal as possible? One quick one, just to go back one slide, is on your photos, just to really resonate, and we'll talk about this again. But if you haven't got great photos at the moment, or you wanted to do a shoot, the silver lining of us all being closed is this is the most golden opportunity ever coming up in spring, where most gardens are looking their best, to do a photo shoot. So, obviously it is the complete silver lining of it's hard to see that as an upside, but if you want to be doing photo shoots, you're going to have this amazing opportunity in the coming months. So keeping an eye on the time, reaching couples. So we're going on to a data slide now. So 50% of couples book their venue within 3 months of engagement. At the moment, as we know, 70% of couples have been waiting for that moment for sort of lockdown to end or viewings to be allowed. And then you see how compact this is. And obviously, once they book their venue, they've got a date, they've got a location, they can invite their friends, they've got the structure of their budget. That's when they then go and book all their suppliers. So this is going to be very compacted and compressed, we see coming up. The average couple from the day they get engaged, the day they're booked, is 67 days, which is just under, I think, 9.5 weeks. So on that compression, that's what's coming. That's what this backlog, and normally it's spread out because people are getting engaged over 12 months, obviously, and maybe there's a hump over Christmas. But this is all being compacted in, so this is going to move incredibly quickly, and it's obviously a competitive market. What we also see is obviously corporate businesses in the venue space. This is, again, corporate business are going to bounce back vastly slower than hospitality business, and especially wedding business. They don't have this backlog, and companies have a health and safety responsibility, so won't be doing events for a long time. So we see a lot of pressure, or we see a lot of corporate venues and, you know, being content bride, but how they can get into the industry as well. So here's a competitive space, making sure, you know, you're all lined up, and for the rush is incredibly important. And this is the journey, and I'll talk a bit more about this in a second, but this is this trend that I started talking about at the beginning of the millennial couple, what COVID has done, lockdown has done, and we've seen it so many industries, just accelerated sort of the digitization of society, or the digitization of behavior. You know, doing a Zoom call was very unusual 15 months ago. Now it's, you know, it's the complete norm. Spending time sort of researching things like that. We've all had vastly more time than we've ever had before to do these things, spend more and more time on screens. And this is where we see on these journeys. So if we looked at the journey of a couple, red is people who are engaged, who haven't booked a venue yet. Yellow is who already have booked a venue, and blue is married. So you can see actually the number of venues couples are viewing digitally has increased 50%. The number of reviews couples are now reading has increased almost 100%. The number of video tours obviously has doubled. And this is this journey where we see the importance of digital, and where people's journey starts, just like if you're booking a hotel, or if you're, you know, looking for a property online, maybe that's a good example. Your journey starts with Rightmove, not with going to an estate agent on a high street. That sort of trend with Bridebook we've been focused on, you know, in the whole history of our company, but that's accelerated enormously. And now you see, you know, other than in-person venue tours, which is, you know, the sort of the decision point of the journey, the two next most important things couples now say are most important is reading online reviews and doing virtual tours and video tours. And this is a video, and it doesn't necessarily be a video tour of your venue, even if it's just an intro about yourself, showing that personality, things like that. And as we said, it's a real personal relationship, booking your suppliers, showing that personality as much as you possibly can is vital. And this is where, I'm just going to show you this slide actually. This is the average booking process for a venue. So we see couples that will look at 23 venues digitally and read 42 reviews online. They're doing a huge amount of research online. Then they'll contact 8 venues, then they'll view 3 in person, and they'll book 1. So, you know, you can imagine this is very similar to other digital journeys online now. Whilst previously the number of venues people would view, they'd, you know, book weekends in to go and view lots of venues and get lots of brochures and things like that. This has all moved on digitally, and actually it means it's more competitive, because you can, obviously it's easier as the online, it's much easier to view a lot more venues than doing it in person, and that means you're being compared with a lot more people. So this is where, when we say goals, obviously to be number 1 out of that 23 competitive set, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But going back to that, on Bridebook, we have the functionality to add virtual tours and video tours. If you haven't done this yet, I'd highly, highly, highly recommend it. As you can see, here, you know, it's virtual tours and video tours is the 3rd most important thing couples care about, more than your brochure, more than wedding fairs and regional fairs. So getting a tour done, obviously over the next couple of months, this is an amazing, you know, fortunate opportunity to get a video tour. Doesn't have to be a brilliant Matterport one, which can be expensive, but if you can do that, that's obviously the best. But doing a video tour, uploading some videos of great weddings at your venue is just making your profile vastly better and allowing couples to really get immersed in your venue. The same with suppliers. Even if it's yourself talking to camera, that might feel nervous, but it just distinguishes you enormously. Whether it's showing a short video of, you know, incredible floristry or band playing, get that footage up there, and then we show it on your profile, and it's really valuable. Of course, as I've already said, all of this applies to your own website as well, and your own social media. Getting video up is incredibly powerful. You know, the the fastest growing platforms in the world are things like TikTok and Instagram Reels and these short videos, and people consuming sort of a video is the direction of travel, and that's the audience you're targeting. And then the other one is getting more reviews and testimonials. So if everyone's got a pen and paper, one of the highest, easiest recommendations, just type in or write in bridebook.co.uk/reviews. If you send that link out to your previous couples, to your couples if you're planning at the moment, we also allow suppliers to write reviews. Guests, parents of couples can write reviews. They all fill it in here. We know who they are and their role in the wedding. All of this adds huge credibility, getting up to those 42 reviews. The couples looking at a venue, you could just imagine, or looking at, let's say, a band, looking at a band, and they read 10 reviews saying the band was just amazing to deal with and we had the most amazing time. And then you're reading a review of a photographer saying these guys always deliver. And then you're reading guests saying that was the best dancer I've ever been part of. And then the mother of the bride saying they even included me with the playlist, and we had it was the most, my legs still hurt, I danced so much. That just fills you with confidence. Like that's what everyone's dreaming of. If that's so getting those reviews, using that content once you've collected it, put it as quotes on your Instagram, putting it as quotes on your own website, things like that is just like immensely powerful. And it's all social proof and brings a lot of confidence. And on Bridebook, again, we see venues with reviews and suppliers with reviews get vastly more business than ones that don't. As you can see, it's incredibly logical, and also our algorithms optimize then for that. We want couples to find the venues they want. We want to help them get down that journey as quickly as they can, and obviously we then optimize, or the algorithms promote venues that got the most reviews and the best reviews and the most recent reviews. So it literally pops up with a form, and your previous couples and suppliers and everyone can write reviews. So highly encourage it. This was where I mentioned before, budget is staying the same. I think we can move on from this one. There shouldn't be a concern, and I highly encourage everyone that what I've seen in questions, should we be cutting our prices? Should we be slashing our prices? We're in a race to get business. Should we, get back on track? Should we be cutting our prices? Obviously everyone has their own sort of view of their business, things like that. My personal view, be highly discourage that. I don't think any business in the industry should be cutting their prices. My degree was economics. The first lesson of economics is supply and demand. Well, with all this backlog of business, demand is higher than it's ever been. So you shouldn't need to be reducing your prices, and will likely possibly hurt your business if you're doing some rash decision. Obviously, there might be unique scenarios where you might want to pursue that, but the scenario view is couples, from everything we can see, have the same expectations to spend or higher, and there are more of them. So it'd be I think personally a shame if suddenly this competitive downward spiral started in the industry of people cutting their prices, because it's unnecessary and actually just damage the industry when we're actually all trying to get back on strong footing. So this was the journey I was talking about. Your whole goal, obviously, is to ensure you get into these 23, and having reviews helps you into that 23. Having an amazing appearance, having a full profile, having reviews, having a video tour, having transparent pricing gets them contacting you. If you get into this 3, that's obviously the key goal, and that's where your team taking over, that's where we're leaving it very much to yourselves. Say, right, play to your strengths, surprise and delight, make sure they have that incredible experience at your venue, and you're already down to this very sort of narrow short list. And that's where making sure you're in the best possible view here. If we went back to our Tinder analogy, I never use Tinder. I'm married with 2 kids. Rosie, my wife, will be ears pricking up next door. But if you can imagine couples who are, you know, and this is how they met their partner. The majority of these couples are viewing a lot of people online. Then they're reading the profiles of a few they like the look of. Then they might start messaging a few. Then they're only going to go on a very narrow number of dates with a certain number of people. And then they might start a relationship with one of those people. And that's obviously how they met themselves, and they ended up getting married. That's the sort of behavior couples are very used to now. Same with if you're ordering a takeaway or booking a flight, you're going to look at a lot of stuff online. You're going to start narrowing down your choices. You might only go in to look at the menu of a few ones. You might actually discuss having a couple and then you're booking one. That's that sort of online journey, which is absolutely prevalent in millennial behavior, and that's who your audience is. The vast majority, 90% of couples are millennials. This is the behavior. This is why we're an app, and we focus on app. We want to be, we are the #1 app, and that's our position that we really focus on. So action items. If you go on your profile, again on Bridebook, we give you a load of advice on what you're missing out. This venue hasn't done its reviews and testimonials. Make sure they're getting that sorted. If they're missing these different ones, they haven't done their supplier recommendations. If you're a supplier, look at the venues on Bridebook and make sure they've recommended you if you're one of their recommended suppliers. Fill in your FAQs. Again, we have the most detailed profiles of any platform in existence. We ask really personal questions in your FAQs. What's your favorite memory of a wedding you've hosted? What's the favorite memory of a wedding you've been part of? So that couples love reading that. We get huge amounts of feedback, and that really connects them. If it's just here's a photo of some canapes and contact us, and the next person there with a video tour and everything, you can just imagine how vastly more appealing it is. It goes, it's a photo of our canapes. We don't show our pricing. Contact us. We don't optimize them because we know couples won't like talking to them, to be honest, and won't even message them. We want our couples to have the best experience because that works best for everyone. And then also the important one is understanding your competition. So this is a feature we have on Bridebook where you can see when you're getting shortlisted, something we show, you will have all seen on your inquiries, who else you're in the shortlist with. We show the count. We won't show you who those are, but on the aggregate level, you can then see who you're most commonly shortlisted with. This is fictitious data, so don't read anything into it. But you can see how you've been performing, how many times, heads of house in here. How's our response score? Great, we're responding incredibly quickly, and other people are a bit slower. Where's our search position? How's our profile looking? Great, we're an expert. We've got our bases covered. If for some reason you're underperforming, you might want to go and look at these and try and understand, are we overpriced? Are our canapes photo not working? What is it? And really help everyone actually understand, what performs well, what are couples looking for, and is really valuable. And you can see again that your performance over time, how you're appearing in search rankings, and obviously higher you're appearing in search, the more visibility you're getting, the more recommendations Bridebook algorithms are doing, targeting you to right couples, and that's how we drive you more. And it's basically ensuring you're in that 23 hopper. And then the couples are digesting you and deciding who to move on with. Keeping an eye on the time. So this was a stat, I've already covered that. 63% of wedding planning is done on couples' phones now. More than 80% do more than half their planning on their phone. This is where looking at your own website, make sure it's mobile optimized. Think Instagram, think square photos rather than long lateral photos, horizontal photos even. Really, that's where they're immersed. They're doing their venue search sitting in bed. If you quickly, I don't know if you can see this, but I think you can still see my screen. This is just, if you'll go on your dashboards, this is Headser. But if you go to the bottom of your dashboard, these are couples trends we show. So you can see the most popular time couples have been sending inquiries. This is Sunday afternoon. Monday at 10 p.m, Tuesday at 10 p.m. This is for the whole site, and this are the dates they're looking at. This will give all your funnel insights and how you're performing and everything. But here, this just shows Sunday 4 p.m, sitting on the sofa, and Monday and Tuesday, this is sitting in bed. People are doing this on their phone. You can see, March data will be out as soon as the month changes, and there's, that's your battleground, or where they're sitting in bed, and you want to be in prime position there when they come across you and get excited by you. On platforms, from our data, what we see from the report, the two main platforms, there's ourselves and there's Hitch, that many of you know, and then obviously couples go into this very long tail of different places to go and look for inspiration and things like that. But as a platform, we see ourselves, and that's what luckily recognized by Apple and things like that, as the leading platform as an app. And that's what we always want to be focusing on and improving. And you see this journey of couples getting more and more involved in digital platforms, because that's how they do everything else in their lives. And our mission has always been to make wedding planning as fun as it should be, and convenient as it should be, and easy as it should be, planning the best party of your lives, and everything else is done on a phone, and that's what we want to be leading on. So an action item, I showed you your bonus one, go on your dashboard and look up stuff. But on the inquiry manager, this is where all your inquiries come in. This is where what helps our algorithms and will help yourselves is tracking your inquiry sources, marking inquiries as replied, responding quickly. One of the key questions we saw was couples asking, how do I get a better response rate? How do I stand out? Things like that. I say, one, having a differentiated response. Think of starting a conversation as if you're talking with a person, not copy pasting a sort of very generic, a sort of boilerplate message. Think, how can I, you're dealing with a person on someone on that very emotional journey. See, they will have contacted 8 venues on average. How can you be different? How can, if you're a supplier, all of this is exactly the same. But actually, one of the biggest differentiators is having a quick response. Couples are used to instancy, or if that's even a word, immediacy, where they want a fast response, they have short attention spans, everything's fast moving, especially in the digital world. One of the things you really stand out on is a high response score, and that's where we optimize that again for the platform, and you want to be doing that and really focus on that, because that makes a massive difference. That's for inquiries on your own site and on Bridebook. Make sure you're responding quickly. Harvard's done an amazing study. If anyone wants it, message team. I think it's, if you respond within 2 hours rather than 24 hours, something like a 600% increased likelihood you'll secure the business. So no one should be waiting up till midnight to reply to these Monday night inquiries, but by responding, first thing, not allowing stuff. We see venues that say, oh, we reply once a week. That's really damaging for your business, and most likely you're out of the cycle then. Other actions, build your online presence, add wedding fairs, add open days. If you're doing something in, coming up now, opening up's coming, talk about it, highlight it. And then the other one, which is crucial for suppliers especially, is all venues and all suppliers can do a recommended list on Bridebook. This again gives couples a lot of confidence when they see a photographer's recommended by lots of great venues. If lots of venues are recommending you, probably really good and probably very experienced, and there's a big social proof sort of trigger for that. And it's also a great way to find business. A couple generally wants to get suppliers who might have been to their venue before, more normally for a photographer for that one actually, and just brings a lot of confidence if you're recommended by lots of people. So this is an easy one. If you go under here, it's under network, and everyone can recommend people, and it's a great one, especially in the sort of collaborative last year where everyone's been working together a lot more as an industry. This is something hopefully people can make the most of. So I've been talking incredibly quickly. In the next few months, the industry is going to explode and make the most of this opportunity. As we said, 1 million people are looking at getting married. We want to make sure you're in the best position. You've got time to do it now. It's incredibly frustrating that we're not all able to do, be hosting weddings today. But as we've seen, the vast amount of business is booked, months and months and months before the weddings. That's what you want to be focusing. That's the backlog. That's the 70% of couples who are raring to get booking. And you want to be in prime position of that. If you secure that business, you've got a full calendar, you've filled your gaps, you've targeted the right couples, you're racing out of with, you're catapulting back to success as a business. And that's the position we want, everyone to be in, and the industry recovers incredibly quickly. Then if 30,000 couples book their weddings, on average, that's £1 billion that comes into the industry. 30,000 isn't many. There are 500,000 couples planning on getting married. So getting people booking and being ready for that, and making sure you're in the best position, making sure you've got dressed up for your date and had a haircut and everything on our Tinder analogy, so you're looking your best. That's what everyone's business is, and that's what we want to help people doing. So maximizing your position, as we're saying, being top and looking your very best. 5 recommendations. Use your market insights, see who are couples also looking at, making sure you're looking your very best. Make sure you're looking at seasonality, filling those gaps. Ask us for the masterclass. We can send that over to anyone. We've got the recording and a big presentation on it. Making sure you're making the most of that. Target the right couples. There's no point having lots of couples saying, I want to get married on a Saturday this year if you're a venue in summer, because most likely you've already filled those dates. If you haven't, you've got probably a big opportunity, because a lot of people will want them, but you want to be targeting those gaps. How can I fill up my Fridays and Thursdays in autumn? How can I increase my capacity to make sure I'm catching up on that, on what was missed last year, and really gets this bounce back, which we're all lucky to have in our industry, which very few industries have. Be responsive to your inquiries, as I've just covered, making sure your team are G'd up. They probably need some energizing, and look through your profile and make sure your profile's looking great. On your dashboard, it'll tell you how you're doing, but also, you can talk to your account manager, if you're a Venue Pro supplier, or a Supply Pro, a Venue Pro member, or a Supply Pro member. We are polishing everyone and making sure everyone's set. If you haven't done that yet, make sure you do. And here, where we go, premium placement for, as I said, majority of people here on Pro already included in your memberships. We make sure you're in a prime position in front of couples. So we're ensuring you're getting recommended to the right couples. You have the ability, huge abilities on the platform. Make sure you're using them all. Understood for the last year, it's been a very strange market, but now making sure you're all set. Our teams, all raring to help everyone get into that right position, for pushing you as much as we can, and also looking at suppliers. So I should mention, for suppliers, if you haven't, you can appear. You can now choose 3 counties beyond your home county. So obviously, a venue has a specific location which people are coming to. Suppliers generally can obviously travel, and that's where you can add your counties in to make sure couples know that's where you're at. So finishing with our checklist, we will send this around, but we have, test your profile, check your photos are looking best, and update your profile as much as possible. And do this on your website as well. Make sure both of those looking great. They are a shop window to the world. Make sure your pricing is all set. If you haven't done a pricing masterclass, go for it. Make sure you've got new reviews in and ask for reviews. Make sure you've got endorsements in. If you're a supplier, and venues get endorsements the other way around. Make sure you're targeting the right couples now. Choosing who, if you've got a gap in your calendar, make sure your couple targeting is set so we can recommend you, and the algorithm's going to chase down who are the right couples. Make sure you've got special offers up. capturing people who are looking for smaller weddings now, capturing people who, capturing open days and special reasons, in this sort of dynamic environment, making sure there's an ability to cater to everyone. You'll have those two cohorts, people who want to get married very quickly now. Lots of those will be happy for smaller weddings. If you're a smaller venue, that's a great opportunity. If you're, a city-based hotel, what are you targeting? If you have smaller rooms, you might be doing these, focusing on second marriages. If you have huge rooms, you may be focusing on, larger ethnicity weddings. Like Asian weddings often have large numbers, or larger different routes there. Look at your competitor insights and see who you're often shortlisted again, and make sure you're fully informed there and understanding your business. And then maximizing your visibility and being ahead. On Bridebook, I think I should know the exact number, but there are about 10,000 approved venues in the UK. And that number only grows, and lots of barns coming into the industry. We see a lot of corporate venues coming in, and for this window now where they don't have corporate hospitality, and actually making sure you're in a prime position really helps you. So when the couples are searching, they're picking you, whether that's a venue, whether you're a photographer, a Toastmaster, all these wonderful businesses, making sure they see you as quickly as they can, given a lot of confidence by your full profile and all your personality and all all the great reasons we've covered, and exactly the same on your website. Make sure when anyone, the majority of couples will also go from Bridebook and check your website. That's that second stage. Make sure those two journeys are quite coherent. Or sometimes go from they're looking amazing on Bridebook, and then they'll go to the website, which isn't mobile optimized and goes for a very word heavy and desktop focused site. It immediately gives people the chills, to be honest. So pretend to be a couple and go through that journey. And as a supplier, make sure bounce back with Bridebook. We're here to help. We have an amazing team. We're a team of 40 people now. We've grown a lot. We're helping hundreds of thousands of couples and thousands of businesses, and enormously appreciated to so many of their pro members here, and we're here to help. We want, our whole mission is to be, when I launched Bridebook, want to be a collaborative platform, different to what's gone before us, and future focused, working incredibly closely with businesses, understanding businesses, being on your team, being one team, being like, right, we're going to help you succeed. That's our whole mission. That's what we enjoy. We have all these trackers at Bridebook being like, great, we're succeeding, and we only succeed when you guys are succeeding. So use that resource. If you're a pro member, whole team's raring to get you fired up and get ready. If you're not a pro member, plenty of ways to reach out. You can go on the business platform, and you'll be able to see what the options are. It's top left, there's a big yellow button, I'm sure you've seen it, and talk with the team, and we can coach people through lots of this stuff. And finally, 1 million people will be getting married in the next 18 months. Let's all bounce back together, and massive good luck from me and good luck from the team. And we're always here to help. And it's been amazing to see the industry come together and much more collaborative, and really want, we're in this great optimistic position now. I'm talking on that view, not only from Bridebook, but especially from Hedsa and from our venue, and positioning everyone to be like, right, let's get back on top, get back to the brilliant, happy industry we're supposed to be and great at, and put these dark clouds behind us. And we're here to help everyone do that. So, well done, everyone. I've run over 5 minutes. I'm sure people have stuff to jump onto, but I'll maybe do 15 minutes of key questions. I'll ask BB team, do message me directly. Do a direct message if there's a question or anything you think I've missed, but I'm going to fly through the top questions if that's useful to everyone. Let me look through what I think wasn't covered too. Or I'll go really quick, one-line answers to everything. Here we go. How do you set your pricing? Is it better to keep your price flat or drop prices? The answer on that one, definitely look at our pricing masterclass and a grid. We have a lot of information there, but I say definitely it's better to be gifting upgrades than reducing your price, and definitely publish your pricing and have it transparent. Should we put our prices on our website, keep them bespoke, put them out there? Will people hold their prices? Will companies be cutthroat to steal business? I very much hope everyone's going to hold their prices. We covered this. What's the best way to contact couples following an inquiry? Sometimes I get ghosted. What are appropriate replies to brochure requests and further information? How can we, get most engaged? This is a fast response. This is incredibly important, and a personalized response, and something that shows personality. If you're churning out copy paste, if you're churning out thinking you're talking to another business, make sure if you're doing B2B copy, that's not who you're talking to. Think you're talking to someone sitting in bed on their phone at 4 p.m. on a Sunday. What's the language that's going to get them excited? From that 23, from that 8, from that 23, very quickly they're dropping. They're not even contacting 2/3. From that 8 again, they're then dropping another 2/3 who they're actually going to go and visit. So that's that key bit of making sure get into that third and then get into that next third, and that's what I'd highly recommend. How to get noticed on your website. Hopefully we've talked through a lot about that, but as we said, if you're a pro member, we're already partnered with you, and we do everything we can to get you noticed, and that's what the platform's built to do. When it's looking at then on the different pieces, how to stand out, like number one, photography. Make sure you've got amazing photos. Make sure you've got a completed profile. Make sure you've got your pricing up. Make sure when someone looks at you, they could almost book you there and then. How can we incentivize couples to post feedback about our venue? They seem to be more willing to do an old-fashioned feedback form in the bridal suite. Well, this is like if you've given people a great experience, everyone's aware the wedding industry's had an incredibly tough time. So reaching out to previous couples now saying, if you want to help us, this would be incredibly helpful. There's huge support for small businesses. The whole, there's a lot of sort of camaraderie in the world at the moment. So I think that's something to do. Posting it on your social media sounds great. Posting it to your suppliers, doing something reciprocal, that's a great opportunity as well. And if you wanted to, you could be trying to incentivize it. We have software in the platform, so if fake reviews are sort of flagged or removed, and we check them. But there are ways of really trying to incentivize your couples, just sending them their Easter eggs and saying, oh, by the way, can you go on bridebook.co.uk/reviews? We'd really appreciate it. Hopefully that's within bribery law. Chocolate, it's under the £50 or whatever you're allowed. I'd highly encourage that. And then there's a lot of goodwill around, plan their wedding and host their wedding. I think generally that works incredibly well. Are people now finding that smaller wedding? Are people, so I think this means, are people going for smaller weddings? And I think it's meaning, are smaller weddings becoming more popular? What I think this goes back to that cohort of the people who are willing to wait and they want larger weddings. They're going into 2022 generally. And there's that huge group of people who want to get on with it, and they're very happy to compromise and do smaller weddings. A huge audience for this is second marriages, and often it can sort of be forgotten a bit. But second marriages generally have smaller numbers, but a bigger per head budget, and that's where, if you're a smaller venue or you have rooms that are suited to it, or you can close off a ballroom, we often do this at Hedsa, and this second weddings is a great opportunity for midweek weddings. We'll just put them in. We have a drawing room that can seat sort of 40 people, and they don't even know we have a ballroom that seats 140, and they have this wonderful day, and often can be a high tea or something sort of a bit different to a wedding breakfast and a dance. That's an opportunity to look at, again, couples who have been waiting to start a family and things like that. Lots of them now are saying, right, we want to get on with it. We'll have the party later, and we have these sort of Sarah Minis and Sarah Menis, and there's 2 different parties and things like that. So there's definitely that opportunity for both, but using targeting allows you to do that. Creative ways to partner with other suppliers and venues to gain mutual recommendations. That hopefully I've shown you, if you go onto that network piece of Bridebook, everyone can recommend each other. And that's a way to really, often that just sits in the back of a venue's brochure, insert our recommended list. This is something that can move that from getting that generally on your in-person show round all the way up to the beginning of your journey. A question on invitations. A couple showing preferences for low quality or high quality invitations or DIY. And this actually is where we'd see this split at the moment, where there's a sort of diversification of preferences, which was going on before, or sort of a distinction of preferences of people, as how do I phrase it best? But people will choose what they prioritize, and rather than spending a sort of average budget across everything, they will actually, and we see this on our budget tool that I could show you people, but it breaks down their budget for them. And so we can see everyone's budget of all our couples across all their suppliers and what they're planning on spending. They will prioritize stuff and deprioritize stuff. So if invitations is important to them, or someone who's really caring about the smaller details or the sort of intricate details, that's where they could actually spend a lot on stationery or something that really matters to them. It has, incredibly creates that whole sort of journey and aesthetic of their wedding. And they might be saying, well, actually, we're not that, food's less important for us. We're going to spend a lower budget on that, or drink isn't that important. We're going to have cava rather than champagne. And you might have another couple doing that. So what's happened in weddings, the hyper personalization of weddings, like it's like your identity showing off what I'll stop screen share, but it's really your identity of is your wedding is a extrapolation of your personalities, and that's where there's sort of little details which isn't undermining them at all, and then scaled up to really important stuff. We had a bride at Hedza, and she was into dinosaurs, so they had a robotic velociraptor join them for the first dance. So that's important to you. People spend a lot of money on it, but for most people, I don't think that's incredibly important. Do we return to business as normal marketing now? Are there specific topics or areas we should be focusing on that we wouldn't have before COVID? So hopefully I've covered a lot of this now, but I'd say the acceleration of digital, and that digital presence has accelerated enormously in every industry in the world due to COVID. Everyone's, as businesses, we've all moved completely online, and as couples, we've all built up huge habits of the online life. As I said, it's very unlikely you're walking into an estate agent or a travel agent or a takeaway to buy a property, a flight or a takeaway. You're doing it online on your phones, and weddings, we've been slower to digitize as an industry. That's accelerated enormously. So I'd really obsess about digital profile. That's something we obviously focus on. That's your website, your whole digital presence, your response, really polishing that all up, because that's what couples are most sort of obsessed by or value enormously, and is basically a crucial step of their decision criteria. How to target couples for 2020. That's where hopefully we showed, just make sure you've set your couple targeting on Bridebook. If you're a pro member, if you're not, talk to us and we can show you what's possible. How to book better quality weddings. So this, hopefully we've covered quite heavily here. The more information and more sort of transparent you're doing is that self-selection. So if you're showing upfront, this is our pricing, this is our capacity, this is as much information as we can get about you. Not only does that help on our own site for us to recommend you to the right couples, so we can actually target you to those couples, but on our own website, people can then self-qualify. So this is the opposite opinion to well, if we don't share any information, then everyone will be in touch and we can filter through them. Actually, it just deters most people. Having price and application isn't interesting, putting people through a lot of a headache. Just sort of have more confidence in the more transparent business of the one that's vastly more convenient and is, you know, really professional. So I'd sort of highly recommend that route. And obviously, again, on couple targeting, if you say a better quality wedding, if you're focused on budget, you can target couples based on budget, because we know the couples' budgets, and that's how we do our recommendations. And we're very similar to sort of Google and Facebook advertising, where couples have lots of fun on our couples product, which I showed at the very beginning. That gives us all this information, which allows us to give them the most useful recommendations and match them with the right suppliers, which is beneficial for them and obviously beneficial for the business. And that's what we focus on being great at. As a new wedding venue, if we said as a new business, what's the best way to promote it? Do I pay for social media ads? If so, which ones are most effective? So they're sort of with differing views on this. Happy to give you my own view, and obviously done a huge amount of online marketing and also with growing HelloFresh. What I would generally view for social media is, for social media marketing as an individual business, to do your own social media ads has the potential to be quite ineffective, because you're reaching an enormous audience. So the analogy again would be, if you said you're going to sell your own house or rent your house, and you said you're going to do your own social ads to try and reach the audience looking for you, generally, and some people can have success doing this, but generally speaking, that'd be incredibly hard and incredibly expensive and likely ineffective, because it's a very crowded market and you're reaching an unqualified audience. So it's a bit like the difference with print advertising, which, you know, unfortunately, most of the print publications have ceased to exist now. But as an individual business with a narrow audience, like a venue or potentially a florist and smaller suppliers, print advertising is ineffective, because it'd be like running your own ad in the newspaper for your house. What's effective is for big brands like dress brands and things like that, and that's why we see a magazine filled with that. So that's where, you know, a platform like Rightmove is obviously highly effective, where they can bring in the audience, filter it, and say you're looking for 2-bed houses in this area, and then they can get people in front of the right audience, and that's where, you know, Bridebook's designed to work. Where you might want to use social media ads or Google ads is retargeting, which I'm not sure if everyone's aware of, but that means someone who's been on your site before, re-engaging them and making sure they don't forget about you. So that's that chance. Let's say you have an open day coming up. If you get all your inquiry list, you can actually target them on Facebook. You know they've already been interested in you because they've contacted you, and that's where social media ads could be effective, because you're reaching a sort of wider audience. You're reaching a large audience of people who you know are interested because they've already been in touch with you. Whereas just saying, well, I'm going to put my ads out there, and most teams won't have a sort of extensive marketing function. So that's hopefully that's helpful. That's where getting your venue website looking awesome, making sure you've got that conversion funnel nailed, making sure you have a wonderful presence on social media, but just pushing social ads can be an expensive approach. Okay, I've got a direct question. Would you recommend a price range than a fixed rate? I say 100% recommend a price range, but fixed prices for individual dates or categories of dates. So do watch the Pricing Masterclass, but what you want is to say, for heads, so we have a 12-box grid. We have midweek, Fridays and Sundays, so 3 blocks, midweek, Fridays and Sundays, and Saturdays, and then low season, mid-season, peak season. So everyone can see that grid and they can move around it. And we can say, well, if you get married on Saturday in summer, it's this price. If you get married on a Wednesday in winter, it's this price. That gives this range. That means when we market heads, so we can say, well, prices from £5,000 to, I think we're £14,000, and we gave a lot of information in the masterclass about that. We will share, when we do a follow-up after this, sharing these slides, we'll share the link to the pricing masterclass. I think we are, a final question, what's the best marketing examples to attract brides? The number one thing I'd do is I'd recommend, and we can share you these links, if you go on Bridebook and look up your county, even if you look up, just type into Google, wedding venues, Berkshire, Bridebook, and go into your county, look at who's top, and you can do that in 20 seconds now, and then we can send some links which make it a bit easier. Most of our couples will obviously be going through our whole app journey and have a customized result. If you look there, whoever's at the top has got a fantastic profile and is converting really well, and the algorithms know they're doing well. It'd be exactly the same. We have the same technology as Google, and we partner with Google. So hopefully that will give you some pointers very quickly. Awesome. Well, thank you, everyone. We did have 300 submitted questions, so I've got through some. If you have other questions or support or things like that, do email the team. Do go on your business portal, and up left you can contact the team and see other options and things like that. You can see all your analytics, and use these next few weeks to get polished, get ready for the wave coming through. As soon as venue viewings are coming, it's a starting pistol, and we're waiting for exact confirmation from the government. And even, that could be government-led. We've also seen it being industry-led, where some venues might start letting people in, and we wouldn't condone that at all. But you can see that momentum will start to eke out, and then and you just want to be prime position there, and we want to help everyone do that. Brilliant. All right, thank you, everyone. Sorry we ran over, but really lovely to chat to everyone, and send any feedback on the webinar, because we're always very happy to do other ones and specific topics and deep dives and things like that. Thank you very much. Cheers. Bye-bye.